How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Well Way Podcast, the podcast all about training for life. I'm your host, Sam Beaver, and today we're going to tackle an issue that is incredibly common in youth sports, injuries. Specifically, we're talking about the number one reason young athletes get hurt, and more importantly, how we can fix it. Now, if you have a young athlete in your life, whether it's your child, a friend, or a team member, you've probably seen them face some kind of injury, whether it's a sprained ankle, a pulled muscle, or something more serious. Injuries can sideline young athletes and set them back in their training. The good news? Most injuries can be prevented. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you the number one reason these injuries happen and how we can fix it. So let's get into it. Before we dive into the solution, let's first talk about the number one reason youth athletes get injured, and that's lack of proper strength and conditioning. It sounds simple enough, right? But what does that really mean? Well, as young athletes develop and grow, they often jump into their sports without having a solid foundation of strength and functional movement patterns. This creates two major issues: weak muscles and stabilizers. Many injuries happen because young athletes don't have enough strength in key muscles, especially in their core and stabilizing muscles, to support the physical demands of their sport. If these muscles are underdeveloped, they can't handle the impact, agility, or complex movements required in sports. For example, a basketball player might twist an ankle, or a soccer player could pull a hamstring simply because their muscles didn't have the strength to support the load. The other major issue is that many young athletes develop poor movement patterns because they haven't been trained to move properly. If we think about it, in any sport, proper posture, balance, and mobility are essential. When young athletes don't have the proper strength or body awareness, they're more likely to use their bodies incorrectly, leading to compensations and ultimately injuries. This could be something as simple as landing wrong after a jump, having improper running form, or not having the range of motion to squat or bend properly. These poor movement patterns can lead to injuries, especially repetitive ones, that occur over time from improper training. So now that we've identified the problem, let's talk about how to fix it. The solution is strength training and functional movement training. First, let's talk about why strength training. It's important to note that strength training for kids and teens is safe, as long as it's done with proper technique and supervision. In fact, when done correctly, it can be one of the best things young athletes can do to prevent injuries. Strength training builds muscles, tendons, and ligaments that support your joints and bones. This is essential because as young athletes grow, their muscles develop faster than their bones, and their joints and ligaments are still becoming more stable. Strengthening the body prepares it for the physical demands of sports, reduces the risk of injuries, and allows young athletes to move more effectively. At The Well, we focus on functional strength training for young athletes, meaning we emphasize building strength in movements that mimic sports actions. Instead of focusing on isolated exercises, we use compound movements like squats, lunges, push-ups, and deadlifts, all designed to build total body strength that support athletic performance and injury prevention. Second, let's talk about movement patterns and mobility. If your young athlete doesn't move properly, they're setting themselves up for injury, even if they're strong enough. Proper movement mechanics help ensure that muscles are working efficiently and the right way. At The Well, we use dynamic warm-ups to prepare young athletes for training in sports. These warm-ups not only get their muscles ready to work, but also focus on improving range of motion and developing better movement patterns. For example, we'll do exercises like leg swings, hip openers, and arm circles to increase joint mobility before strength training or sports-specific exercises. The goal is to train young athletes to move with proper form and alignment. The better they can perform basic movements like squats, lunges, and deadlifts, the less likely they are to hurt themselves while performing complex sports movements. Now it's time to talk about something that's often overlooked: recovery. Too many young athletes think the harder they train, the better they'll perform, but rest and recovery are just as important as the work itself. When young athletes are training hard, whether it's in strength training or sports, they're putting stress on their muscles, joints, and tendons. These tissues need time to recover so that they can repair and grow stronger. Without enough rest, young athletes are at higher risk of developing injuries, overuse injuries like tendonitis, stress fractures, or muscle strains. Active recovery can be just as beneficial as the most intense workouts. After heavy training, young athletes need low-impact exercises to keep their muscles moving without the strain. This can be something as simple as a light swim, a walk, or even stretching and yoga to help promote flexibility. One of the most important and often ignored recovery tools is sleep. Proper sleep allows muscles to repair and grow, helps regulate hormones, and boost energy levels for the next training session. Young athletes need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night for optimal recovery and performance. Proper nutrition is another key factor in recovery. Adequate protein intake, healthy fats, and carbohydrates are essential to replenish energy stores and repair muscles. A balanced diet will ensure that young athletes have the nutrients they need to fully recover and stay healthy. Okay, so now we know the importance of strength training and recovery, but how do we actually implement it in a safe, effective way for young athletes? When introducing strength training, start slow. It's important to build a solid foundation before increasing weight or intensity. Begin with bodyweight exercises and progress to light resistance, ensuring that form is always the priority. Focus on full body exercises like squats, lunges, and push-ups, rather than isolating individual muscles. These compound movements engage multiple muscle groups at once, mimicking real-world athletic movements, and ensuring that muscles work together. Functional training is key to developing balance, coordination, and overall strength. Incorporate mobility drills and dynamic stretches into every session to keep muscles flexible and joints mobile. This helps improve movement patterns, prevent stiffness, which can lead to injuries. Make sure to schedule rest days and active recovery days. Overtraining can be just as damaging as undertraining. Encourage young athletes to listen to their bodies, and if they feel fatigued, make recovery a priority. So to wrap it up, the number one reason why young athletes get injured is simply the lack of proper strength and conditioning. But the good news is it's completely preventable. Strength training and functional movements are the key to building a strong, injury-resistant body. With the right approach, focusing on gradual progression, mobility, recovery, and proper nutrition, young athletes can significantly reduce their risk of injury and perform better in their sports. At The Well, we're committed to helping young athletes build a solid foundation of strength, health, At The Well, we're committed to helping young athletes build a solid foundation of strength, health, and movement so they can stay active and healthy for years to come. If you're looking to get your young athletes started on the right track, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to help them start building strength safely and effectively. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on The Well Way.